Hi, welcome back to the Gon Dojo. Eddie Burgos here, founder of the Kaizen Go-Juru Karate Jutsu. We mentioned in the past about body harmony. What I want you to get is the idea of what body harmony really is. When we move in kata, we're moving our feet, our body, and our hands. The idea is to make the body and the hands coordinate. Here's a perfect example of what I'm trying to demonstrate. If I'm going to punch Bob, and I'm standing here, and I have my front stance already, and I hit Bob, that's about as much as I'm going to get out of that. But if I coordinate my hands with my stance, I get more punch out of it, as opposed to stepping, then punching. Stepping, then punching. Okay? Look at the results. Look at the response I get from Bob. I'm punching after I step. Now, if I step and punch, I get more response. More kinetic energy is transferred because I have mass times a speed will give me the kinetic energy. Mass times acceleration will give me force. That force changes into kinetic energy. And I want my kinetic energy to transfer through Bob. So by stepping and punching, coordinating my hands with my stance. Now, if I let my hands go before my stance, I have more kinetic energy transfer. Why? Because the mass is still in motion. It doesn't land until I hit. And even after I hit, when I step, my body is still pushing through. As opposed to if I step, my body is no longer moving forward. So I no longer have that forward momentum, and this is where it stops. But if I allow my hands to reach my target before my feet touches the ground, I even have more kinetic energy, more mass, more acceleration. So I have that much more, as opposed to feet, then hands. Hands and feet. Hand, then feet. Because it allows my body to go further. The further I go, the more penetrating force I have. So I allow my hands to get there before my feet, but I have to coordinate my hands with my stance. That's with any technique. Kata Seunjin, we have this motion. This motion has to coordinate with the movement of your stance. Hands and stance. If we're going to use this as a throw, I want to be able to come in and throw my opponent by stepping behind the opponent and using my hands. I'll demonstrate that later on. Even if I'm coming back and I'm blocking, I want to utilize Nico Ashidashi with my hands. I want to block, move back, and then step forward. Okay? Block, strike forward. Block, strike forward. So I want to coordinate my hands with movements of my stance. I want to incorporate the whole body into that, not just the hands and the feet, the whole body, because then I am incorporating the mass with that technique. We need to move your stance at the same time as your hands, okay? We need that kinetic energy, that force. So even if we move robotic, practice that, moving your hands and your stance, okay? My student was to throw a punch, and I move my hands without my stance, I'm standing ground, right? But at the same time as I'm standing ground, you notice my core is actually sinking into the ground. As he throws, I'm sinking. I'm still moving in my stance with my hands. Quick. I'm still moving my hands with my stance. As I'm doing that, I'm actually applying pressure on him, but that pressure is due to the stance movement, okay? I'm actually throwing my core into him so that if I let go, he's going to move, right? So there is pressure there. I'm just not forcing myself onto him. I'm just keeping myself stiff. as I move my stance with my hands, depending on what I want to do. If I want to grab Rob and toss him to the side, I'm going to move my hands before my stance. And if you notice there, I got into a Niku Ashidash. Okay? Because we have this exchange of mutual energy going on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my hands, pull back to chamber, and as I do that, then I'm going to step back into Niku Ashidash, which is your pulling stance. If I want to push, okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to exchange force. You notice that I exchange force. I allow this hand to move up. Now, I don't want to take my stance and then move force, because as minute that I move my stance, he's going to notice that, and I'm off balance. But I'm going to move my hands and then my stance, and now I have him in a position where I can change my stance to Shiko Dash and simply take him down. Shiko Dash is a takedown stance. I'm here. In Niku Ashidash, I'm pulling. Hanzikuchi Dash, or half of a front stance, or even Zinkuchi Dash, I'm pushing. But the minute I transfer this stance into Shiko Dash, horse stance, I'm going to transfer my hands and change my power as well. Okay, because what I'm doing there, I'm in a front stance, or in this case, Hanzukuchi Dash, half of a front stance. As I transfer force or energy, kinetic energy, I'm also going to transfer my hands as I change my stance. Now I'm at the base of his knee. And all I do is just bring my hands down and sit. Okay? Now if Rob comes to push, I get in the catch stance, grab. Again. Push. In the catch stance, grab. Now I'm free here to do what I want. Hitting them in conceptual vessel 1, or I can do like in Sunsetto and come in with a Kankutsudachi down to the knee. But that's from a pulling stance, Niku Ashidash, catch stance. Now I'm not going to do a catch stance here in a confrontation as he's pushing. I am going to change my stance. As he's pushing, I am going to change my stance. Now I'm going to pull, push. And as I step forward, I have an elbow strike. He's coming in. Niku Ashidash. Catch stance. Okay, but again, notice that the hands and the stance work together. Body harmony. I know I haven't discussed body harmony yet, but this is your beginning stages of body harmony, right? So as soon as he's coming in, notice how my hip rotates at the same time. As he comes in, I rotate my hip, pulling away from him. Niku Ashidash. Okay? Now I can change my stance to a front stance. Check this out. To a front stance or a Hanzukuchi Dash. I have that leg in front of me. I'm going to go into a Shiko Dash with the knee strike, hands pull, push. Okay, watch again. Block. I cover my conceptual vessel. I cover my body. Remember those blocks as we went through them? Covering the center. Just coming in, cover my center. Clear. Push, pull. Pull my left, push my right. Knee strike. As I knee strike, I'm going to step into his center. Pull, push. I'm going to lift up, push down. I'm behind his leg. Okay, I have control. Now, if I decide to step through again, I can rotate the hands. See the hands already moving? And go into the full stance. And rotate them out of my way. But again, hands and stance. He's coming in. Niku Ashidash. Kick. Elbow strike. Backhand. Now I can step into a Shiko Dash again. And throw him off. So your stands are transitional. You watch any boxer, they're in a boxing stance, and they're constantly stepping in, stepping to the side, which we call Tai Sabaki, right? They're stepping in, stepping to the side. Watch any MMA fighter. They do the same thing. It all comes from your hands and your stance. Give that a try. Work it. Go slow. Take your time. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. The bell will notify you when we load up another one. Remember what I said earlier. I have Professor Joe Johnson coming in to give us a little more concepts of kinetic energy, mass times acceleration equals force. He's a professor of physics. He's also a 6-degree black belt in Goshin Jitsu.